You would think that in a world where the Russo brothers are going to be helping produce a movie with Thor as the action hero, a man named Tyler Rake who kills a man with a rake would actually make this movie 10 out of 10, but somehow it doesn't. Anyways, hi everyone, I'm Kelton.
And I'm Devon. Sup, bitches, I'm back.
And I'm Scott.
We are going to be talking about Extraction.
This is an extraction.
So who are the players?
Biggest drug lord in India versus biggest drug lord in Bangladesh.
Some mythic shit, huh?
It's a kidnapping. Drug lord's son. Clock's running at 16 hours. Proof of life as of 6 hours ago.
Garbage in, garbage out.
So what all did we think about this movie?
Well, I have a general rule I like to fall back on, and that is one-word titles are usually indicative of something that smells like poo. And I'm going to be inclined to say that this one did not break the norm.
It somehow didn't break the mold. You couldn't pull Extraction out from that trope, could you?
Well, no. It's if you frame it in a different way than just what it is presented as, there's some redeeming qualities. I'm sure we'll talk about them, but on the surface, for what it is, it didn't do anything to change anybody's idea of what it was trying to do or who was in it.
Sure. What about you, Devon? What'd you think about this film?
I mean, it was a straight up stunt movie. It told you it was a stunt movie. What else do you expect from it, really?
Yeah, that I think is the highest praise this film can get. Is it's a stunt movie. What'd you expect?
They stayed true to their form.
I'm still trying to be professional and sound intelligent. Keep my pinky up, on the surface it was appealing to it sucks.
It sucks. It's bad. How could you?
Right.
I trusted you, you bitch. You movie. You made me think.
You made me think. Extraction did not do that.
So I guess for people who haven't had the pleasure of watching this movie, a brief synopsis of this action stunt-heavy movie is that a Black Ops mercenary named Tyler Rake, played by Chris Hemsworth, has to rescue the biggest drug lord in India's son, named Avi, from the biggest drug lord in Bangladesh. And that's pretty much the plot. That's what happens. Simple plot, not a whole lot of need to really dress it up. So to go into a little bit of background about this is, as mentioned earlier, it came out on Netflix last week on April 20-something. Don't really remember. The director is Sam Hargrave, and the screenplay is written by Joe Russo, and it's based on a comic he made with his brother from way back called Ciudad. And we all know, I think, the Russos from the Avengers stuff. Do you like Avengers movies, Scott?
Yeah. I think they're either passable or above par action, kind of Hollywood blockbusters. They don't detract from the genre, so I'm going to say sure.
A bold take to say that you enjoy the film that millions and hundreds of millions of other people
It's hard,
enjoy.
Man, not to be contrarian. I have to swallow some pride and, do some cognitive therapy.
Now, you're a little bit older than me, so out of curiosity, what's it been like to see comics go from this social outlier to the most mainstream of mainstream things? Like, it's synonymous with pop culture these days.
Yeah, especially for some, to be honest, even growing up, I wasn't really into comics, but I definitely grew up around them because of, the people I kept as friends. And so, it was weird because when I was a kid, they were still very neat. Like only the nerdiest of the nerds, went to the store and bought comics. And I think that began to change around the time of was it Spawn?
Okay, yeah.
That was the first comic I remember being accepted by more nerds at large. And so and comics started to go away from, the superheroes in the tights, to more grittier types of images. So it's been interesting to see in the span of 20 years to go from beating that kid up behind the school at the bike racks because he had a Superman comic to, now going to see Ant-Man in the theater.
Yeah, that guy is now dragging his kid to go see Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Hypocrite.
Who won now, Jock? By the way, it's the kid that he only gets to see like every other weekend because of the court order.
Yeah, twice a month. Yeah, one day, supervised.
Yeah, there's the CBS worker 4 seats up.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
It's the 19th time they've seen Ant-Man this month because every day.
God. That's where they're taking them. Oh, can you imagine if that was your job?
Yeah.
I just have to watch this mediocre action movie every day for a month.
God.
Capitalism.
It's a joy. Well, the director of this movie was the stunt coordinator on previous comic book movies. Something that the Russos actually had directed, like the Captain Americas and the Avengers. But he had also done like Deadpool and Suicide Squad. He was involved in the Hunger Games and even the super big Chinese box office smash Wolf Warrior 2 that was also produced by the Russo brothers. So he's kind of their hand-picked guy to direct movies when they are too busy being part of the Disney machine, if you will.
Which is proof that being a simp pays off.
The stunt coordinators are the true reply guys, I suppose, of the directing world, of that established hierarchy. Because
yes.
Now, weirdly enough, in 2012, if we go all the way 8 years back, because 2012 doesn't feel like that long ago, but then 8 years, oh God, it makes me remember.
Back to the last end of the world.
Yeah.
God, like March was 2 years ago, let alone 2000. Yeah,
8 Marches ago.
God,
God.
That's actually when first news of this movie being developed came out, and it was going to be originally called Ciudad. It was going to be set in the set in Paraguay, regardless, along the border with Brazil, and was going to actually star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the lead role.
I think that's what annoys me the most about this movie is the setting and then the Hollywood paint job on top of it.
You mean the filter job, right?
Well, I mean, like, all right, so we're going to have this movie about a kidnapped kid, a war between drug lords that takes place over international borders. Maybe the countries don't get along very well. Cool, interesting, especially if it's a lot of it is in a foreign language, so people are reading subtitles. Maybe, that's helping, educate people to different conditions as well. It's all this great thing, and then boom, no, Chris Hemsworth, or boom, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, or boom, Brad Pitt. Like, why do you gotta fuck it up?
I mean, you gotta get stupid Americans to watch it somehow.
Yeah, we wouldn't be covering this film if Chris Hemsworth and the Russos weren't involved, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't bite the hand that feeds, I suppose.
Because it wouldn't have the money that it had if they weren't involved with it.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Well,
I mean, between Helmsworth's salary and the helicopter scenes, that's like 3/4 of the budget.
That's true, because I don't think, since they filmed on location, that they paid too many other people. Not a lot of SAG-certified actors over in India.
And the director, being the stunt coordinator, probably called in the favors of all his stunt boys, like, come on, man, just take the minimum. Got to make budget on this movie. Just do the stunts. I've been waiting my whole life for this, bro.
Hey, those helicopters made jobs, okay?
Yeah, they didn't make writing jobs because they spent all the money on helicopters and not writers.
Well, and that's actually, I think, something that's kind of important to note here, is that this movie, like, if it was a first-time writer submitting this script, I think that people would say, go back to the drawing board. But because it's one of the directors of the Avengers movies, aka the films that have made $3.5 billion at the box office. Actually, hold on. If you add in, like, Civil War, and then you add in... Okay, I mean, we're talking over $5 billion at the box office. and he says, hey, here's my script that I want to produce, the studio is just going to go, yeah, sure, great. No notes. Wow, the perfect film. And you managed to get Chris Hemsworth to come in at a reduced price. Okay, yeah, sure. Everything hunky-dory. Absolutely. Just
This movie's going places. It's gonna break even just by the with enough promotion, having the Russo name and Helmsworth's name on it. Like, boom, you've sold enough tickets to. Would you say it was like 60-some million?
yeah, 65 million was the budget of this movie. So
Yeah, so like that shouldn't, in theory, be hard to make. I mean, obviously it didn't go to theater, but it should be hard, or it shouldn't be hard to recoup that.
no, certainly not, on Netflix. Now, production in 2012 stalled out actually for this movie because the Russos got hired on to direct Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which I think good move on their part, and Dwayne Johnson went on to go make that Hercules movie that no one remembers. So, but keep in mind, 2012 was a very different landscape because the Russo brothers have really only been known for being writers primarily, and then also they were on Community. They had directed several episodes of that. Their last big theatrical movie was Me, You, and Dupree, like 2006 movie.
Yeah, it's foggy as hell.
Yeah, no one's like, I want to give those guys a Marvel film. Let's do this.
Oh God.
Needless to say, though, I think my in general thoughts on the film is that this is just a dumb popcorn action movie that kind of everyone's inner 14-year-old boy really enjoyed it because it is just basically a video game that rips off John Wick, The Raid, Jason Bourne, and Taken. Just kind of takes all those tropes, puts them into a blender. Probably also because this movie, the script was made in 2012, if not earlier. And I don't think that they actually worked on updating the script too much beyond that.
Well, there's not. I don't think there's a reason to. I mean, it's just guns and some back alleys and drug dealers and in the developing world. Like it's one of the things it's nice about it, and a reason why the movie should be better is because the setting itself is timeless. The story is timeless. So what are you going to do to make us remember this movie?
Shots.
Yeah.
Speaking of shots,
Long ass shots.
Yeah, I think that the one sequence that people are going to be talking about is the 12-minute one-hour sequence. That it's I'm sure it's going to pop up on YouTube or even on Netflix on YouTube as its own kind of special thing. And I would suggest that everyone go ahead and just watch that if you haven't watched the movie, because I know when I will inevitably think back on this film, that's the only part I'll actually want to watch. Like, I'm not going to care about anything else. My God, this movie. It's one of the most filter-heavy movies I have ever seen. Like, Australia is green and sometimes blue. Then Bangladesh and India, they're yellow and sometimes brown. Like, the whole idea of it's a foreign country, so look, it's dirty, or look, it's sweaty or grimy, or everyone's covered in baby oil.
Yeah, everyone was really shiny. If they were native to the region, they were very shiny. I noticed that as well.
There was one shot where the sky went across, and it was like blue on one part of the screen, green on another, and then orange on the end, and it was mainly orange. Like, it was so bad.
It's the three genders of light perception.
The only thing it was missing was the fourth gender, which is J.J. Abrams' lens flare.
Oh, see? I will give the movie credit for that. There are no lens flares in this film because, like, the camera never goes above a building's height the entire time.
Yeah.
There's no super big sweeping shots all the way through. But
no, that filter, the way it was simplified, I'm not very familiar with this genre of type action, Black Hawk Down, camera shake kind of action movie. So, like, I'm not used to, like, the filters being so drab unless it's, like, Star Wars, where it's, like, white planet, green.
I was about to say,
thing.
the Star Wars is, for, like, the past 6 movies, have all been very filter heavy. What are you talking about?
Yeah. No, yeah, they certainly have been, but like this genre of like action movie, action sequence type movie, is that something that's a staple, or is it because of the setting that it's in with Bangladesh and India? Is that something they do there?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, that genre is always going to be very filter heavy, just in general, to kind of let you know like what's present day and what looks better on camera versus what is a flashback or anything else. Like flashbacks will always have that like weird sepia or sepia, however you pronounce it, tone to it in those kinds of movies. And so I think that they have like a generic foreign country filter that they put on.
I think that's that dualism, its dual identity, is one reason why, I can sit here and say it's not good, but maybe that might be a little bit too harsh if you try to think of its dual identity and how it's trying to appeal to, culturally to two very different crowds.
Well,
because I imagine the movie, they wanted it to sell well in India and to sell well in the United States.
Thinking ahead, those global phenomenons. One thing I did want to mention is I think, or at least that popped into my head, was that I think that this is a carryover from like the 60s and 70s movies where they would have like random colored light pop up in a scene to let people know, like, oh, everything's red. Things are wild and crazy. Whoa, look at the music. Oh, man, things are out of control. Or, oh, it's purple. Look how regal everything is, or whatever. I mean, they would just have that as lighting in the background of scenes. And I think this is kind of a carryover of that. Is that this is just kind of the modern version of it that we can just filter it in post.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I hate it.
So take it away, Devon. Where do we find ourselves when the movie begins?
All right. So Hemsworth is a mercenary with a tortured past, aka dead kid. So he gets recruited by his mercenary buddy Nick Khan, who is woke, a girl, chick, a woman.
Yeah, definitely, not
A
written
girl
to
chick.
be either gender or, any gender with a name like Nick with just a K, no CK, Nick Khan.
Would you say she's an attack helicopter?
So they have to go to Bangladesh and extract this kid.
And it should probably be noted here more than anywhere else that for the duration of this movie, Chris Hemsworth has like a flak jacket, a rifle, and like a bandana originally around his head, but then like it becomes used as like some tourniquet essentially later on for him to help him not bleed out, because I guess that's how bandanas work. And he just looks like he's every like 3%er at a militia quarantine rally at this point.
Well, that's how they were going to do the merchandising deal. They were going to do a tie-in with Walmart, so you could go into Walmart.
Oh no. So Hemsworth is just hanging out in the streets, being a 6'4" Australian man, and nobody seems to notice him,
Right.
Tall model man. He gets taken into where the gangsters are holding Ovi to get proof of life, and as they're taking Hemsworth back out, he fairly quickly beats their asses. He shoots several of them, he stabs a couple, and he obliterates several guys' necks.
Yeah, I mean, he just absolutely goes ham.
And he even kills one guy with a rake.
Living up to his name for sure. And I think that's one area where we got to sing the film's praises is in these types of sequences, it actually does what it sets out to do pretty well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think it comes from the perspective of it being a stunt guy who's making this. So in the behind the scenes of the film, he was talking to an interviewer about it and said that rather than have all of the extras who Chris Hemsworth is fighting have baggy clothes to try and hide, elbow pads and knee pads, or to have them have to cut away or have them try and fall specifically in ways to kind of shield their body, what they did with that set was that they just put a wrestling mat everywhere. So, I mean, it's still hard, but they spray painted it and then they made it look like concrete from above, and then they could just throw each other all around everywhere, which I thought was just an ingenious idea, because I mean that had to have saved money rather than do the same flip 7 different times. You can just film it all happening at once and have it look super brutal, but in reality the guy's falling on a relatively soft thing.
Yeah, and to add to the brutal, it must be said, don't watch this movie while listening to it in headphones.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. First the platform, and then now with this, just
the crunching. Jesus Christ, the crunching. Oh,
it really, makes me wonder what is going on in the sound effects department of these guys, because it sounded like a bag of chips was being opened up every time he just took someone out.
I think if I ever do the next movie night, I'm just gonna start listening to him on some Walmart headset, so it's not so painful.
It's just fucking brutal. I mean, it's something, though, that I've heard people say, oh, well, John Wick did it better, or, oh, this is just a direct copy of John Wick. And I personally disagree with that, because it's a very different fighting style. It's much more of a brawler. It's just kind of like getting someone to try and take you head on. It's like wrestling a bull, basically, instead of, this very finessed, quick movement type things with, deadly viper striking force. I mean, it's a brawl taking place with Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. But a very well choreographed brawl.
Yes. In reality, it's a beautiful dance between two men. Buds.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Lord of the dance.
All right, after taking some necks out and, just murdering some men, Tyler Rake takes Ovi and they almost get to their boat, who's gonna take him out of Bangladesh and return him to India. Some dressed in black man, who turns out to be Sanju, the henchman who we saw in Glasses, because he's totally a nerd and a special forces guy, takes out 3 men, one of them being a sniper.
Yeah, bearded Chris Kyle.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Fucking that guy, who actually was the director, believe it or not.
Yeah.
That was like his own little cameo in the movie.
I thought he looked like he was straight out of like Sons of Anarchy.
I mean, and the weirdest thing about it is that it looks like this is the director's like depression beard that he grew. Because in every other, red carpet event, like at all the Avengers stuff, he has like a tiny bit of stubble all the way through, instead of this, anorexic Santa Claus kind of vibe that he's giving off.
Hey, it's long and luscious. Got something to live for.
Well, maybe while he was in India, he decided to go on like a pilgrimage and did a tour of various brothels and, ended up getting the clap and then realized, it was all for naught.
So, Saju, who is the henchman, didn't have the money to pay the whole fee for the team. So, after the first payment, he just decides to wipe out the team and get the kid from them.
Good decision making, yeah.
Yeah, it really does kind of make me wonder about, why does Saju think this way? Like, why does he think that the team, if they don't get the other half of the payment, is just going to kill the kid? What sort of reputation does this team have? How many kids has Chris Hemsworth killed before? Like,
oh, we're definitely going to be questioning that soon enough.
I mean, it just feels like, though, that maybe if a conversation had happened between Chris Hemsworth's character and Saju at this point, they would kind of be on the same page a little bit. Just be like, listen, Chris, I know that you've emotionally bonded with this kid and you don't even care about the money anymore, right? Right. Well, I don't actually have the money. So, how about I just give you the kid? And we'll both get out of here. I'm like, oh man, thanks for explaining it like that. I mean, since I'm constantly doing jobs to hide and run from the trauma of my dead kid, I actually have a ton of money saved up, so I can probably cover the other half. Oh man, can you imagine like how bad it could have gone for the whole team if we hadn't had this conversation? You might have snuck up behind someone on a boat and killed him, then snuck up behind another person on the boat and killed them. Then somehow, swam off of the boat, gone all the way around the shore, and then snuck up on the sniper who was supposed to be watching the entire situation, and then killed him. That would have just been a ridiculous thing for you to have done.
Yeah, that escalated really quick.
As long as you have the money for my chickens, they are my children now.
Oh, jeez.
He's a fucking...
Depends on what kind of chicken we're talking about. Popeyes or Bigot chicken.
So, the Bengali drug dealer that we meet finds out that Ovi got extracted by Hemsworth and shuts down the entire city because apparently he controls the town but still needs to be a drug dealer for some fucking reason.
Yeah, it's his hobby. It's his passion project, you know? Like,
yeah, he even tells the military guy to shut it down. How'd he get power over, some colonel that can, tell the military what to do? And what is the fucking military even like in Bangladesh? I want to know. What do they drive?
Well, and also, how are these people at the same power level that the Indian drug dealer and whose son got kidnapped, he can't even afford to pay for 4 mercenaries, but the Bengali drug dealer is controlling the entire town and is able to control the military?
Yeah.
You're fighting a losing battle here, guy.
Yeah, that's a plot hole. Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, he was going to win anyway. So if this is the thing that throws a wrench into your plans, there's a lot worse going on behind the scenes here.
Yeah. Let me tell you, buddy.
According to the dad in jail, it isn't about the money. It's about humiliation. And he's been humiliated by this Bengali dude taking his son.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. True victory is when your enemy is forced to acknowledge your greatness and that they were wrong to oppose you in the first place.
Yeah, that totally is going to be what happens as he's doing weird prison yoga and he's thinking about how right he is. Although it should be noted here, by the way, that racism does exist overseas because all of the people who are Bengali are actually portrayed by Indian actors just because they kind of just filmed on location in India, and I guess they didn't bother to do any casting calls for anyone from Bangladesh, because why would you? I guess it's certainly not going to make a difference to any of us racist Americans.
If they're brown, they're brown.
Are you telling me, the recently, mask off nationalist India is racist in hiring actors?
Listen, that bit that I do, that's me. That's mine. You don't take that from me, Scott. How dare you? It's just wild to me, though, that they didn't even try to just get one guy.
No, that's so weird. But I guess it makes sense with the way India is. I know how they treat, the Hindus treat Muslims. I just didn't know there was that kind of discrimination towards people from Bangladesh. That's new to me. But I mean, it makes sense in the greater narrative of at least what I know of India. So
on the plus side, all of the setup is basically over with now. It's now pretty much a chase movie. We got the one action scene out of the way. We got all of the cuts to get the ball rolling so we know what the stakes are, and then things just kind of actually take off.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth's you know what? Everybody's dead, but you can still have your kid back. Not one more dead baby on my watch.
So now we head into the 12-minute oneer that Kelton was hyping up. It takes place following Rake and Ovi to try and evade Saju and the corrupt cops. So many people after these people as they duck around the city looking for a place to hide.
Before we get to the kids, which is something that we all really need to talk about. The 12-minute oneer that takes place in it starts in one location. It goes to not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 different spots. Here, I mean, you have people who are fighting in a room. It's following them down a flight of stairs as they're fighting through. They go into another building, and then they have to fight their way back up. They jump from one roof to another, and then they fight their way partially down that building. They get thrown off of a balcony, and they land into the street. Yeah, Rake gets hit by a car. And then just when you think that Saju is about to kidnap Avi, Rake hits Saju with the car. And both of these motherfuckers just won't stay dead. But they are beat to shit, needless to say.
It is a pretty prolific scene. It's probably the most memorable long-form pornography for stunt directors in the history of being stunt directors, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty insane.
This is definitely making his highlight reel. Because, I mean, the Marvel movies cut to shit any stunt that he actually decides to do or have them perform.
Yeah.
You know, there's 9 different cameras.
Yeah, this was him just like hanging dong, like, look what I can do.
Yeah, the director did a couple like special videos on YouTube that we watched, and he was talking about having to ride a wire down the balcony part with Saju and Rake, and had to land and keep camera on them, and then he rode the cars with like a little cage in front of him holding the camera, had to jump off, had to run up to the car, had to get in the car. It was just like the cameraman did more than anybody else. God.
And he was the cameraman. I mean, it was a classic example of like small budget ingenuity of where, well, how are you going to film this car crash head on? Well, you know, we can have this rig set up, we can get everything going, or we could maybe do it in CGI. And then the director's like, no, just strap me onto this tiny little metal box at the very front and then just ram that son of a bitch and I'll just film it. and sure enough, it worked. I mean,
yeah, no, I think I'm more impressed with the director of this film, just with all the shit he had to do, more than the movie itself.
I'm very excited to see like what work this director now can get now that he will have his choice of projects instead of just kind of having to take the scraps of the Russos.
Yeah, I would like to see the kind of skill and attention to detail with the action sequences put in something that just has a richer narrative. I would definitely be game to give it a go, because you can see the guy can make a gritty, dirty, 12-minute long, fight sequence. Like, okay, now, let's put some dialogue in it that makes it interesting, and you might actually have something.
I mean, it's not to say that the movie doesn't have some interesting scenes in it, like something I had never actually seen before in a film. Devon, what happens next?
After some recouping and exposition, they go back out into the streets and end up fighting some children.
You're goddamn right they do. The Bengali drug dealer sends a group of children to go try and kill Rake because the kids don't want to get thrown off of a fucking roof. And I mean, Chris Hemsworth just destroys these children. I mean, like, he one-arm fist punches the kid in the stomach, and he flies back into a van, and the van dents. Like,
the movie becomes a meme. I swear to Christ, man. Like,
I mean, it really does. Like, if there was going to be a GIF that gets made of this, it would be, being the only, 30-year-old at the party with a group of 20-somethings. Like, it's...
Yeah. Oh yeah, it took me by surprise. Like, I didn't know how far they were going to take it.
I mean, it's brutal. Like, he doesn't kill them, but like,
there's a fine line between killing and, life-crippling damage.
Yeah, he throws a motorcycle onto a kid's legs. Like, that kid's not recovering from that. Like,
he body slams a kid into the side of a bus. Like,
he swings him like he's trying to hit a home run.
Yeah, no, he like baseball bats him. He's like, fuck you.
Oh God, how many 10-year-olds can you beat up before you're winded? Like,
yeah, it does really answer the age-old question of, is it easier to beat up one 39-year-old or 39-year-olds? It's just, it won't stop.
Oh God.
I mean,
we're all going to hell for laughing at it too. That's
well, I mean, these are some of like the most malnourished kids. Like in the
I know.
The very first scene, one kid like has a gun on Chris Hemsworth, but the gun jams and doesn't actually fire. And Chris Hemsworth just grabs the gun from him and he looks at the kid. The kid is probably 8 or 9 years old, but looks all of 15 pounds. And so it's
like they're not doing it for power and fame and orgasms. They're doing it so they can get some freeze-dried mashed potatoes. Like,
or just not lose fingers, or just not get thrown off of a roof.
Or not lose. Yeah, or to stay alive.
Yeah.
And so it's just weird to then be rooting for Chris Hemsworth as he's just, treating these kids like nunchucks, whipping them around back and forth.
It's the scene of Anakin in the Jedi Temple and what it could have been.
Yes. No, that's exactly right. So where do they go after Chris Hemsworth just like curb stomps a small child.
They escape into a unforsaken sewer. God, that scene was disgusting. You see little rats swimming in the just infested waters, and
The dude has been shot, by the way. Like he is just.
Yeah.
It's not.
That shit's infected now
Yeah.
for sure. For crawling through that shit pipe with those wounds, like, yeah, man.
shout
Yeah,
out
get that
here
shit
to
looked at.
little Ovi, like playing up the scene, just that stank face in the background, just conveying all the emotion that Hemsworth is just stone-faced about. Like, I've smelled worse. Have you ever smelt a burning body? I have in Nam.
He smelled burning children before. Again,
God.
this is like he had no
Yeah.
hesitation with those kids. I cannot emphasize enough. He did not look phased. He did not look like he was weighing his options.
He looked like a disappointed dad.
Yeah, he's like, this again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh god.
They made more of them since last time.
God.
Oh jeez.
So they get through the sewer and get picked up by Rake's old mercenary buddy, who happens to be Hopper. You know,
that's
our
right.
fun-loving dad.
Yeah, and
Fun, love, and pop.
And we're supposed to, believe that number one, Hopper was former special forces, which is just bizarre. But it also kind of highlights the restraints I think that Netflix has as a film studio, because he just kind of seemed like the guy who was available. Like, you're not,
Right.
you're getting ready to do that Stranger Things season 4, aren't you? Okay, well here, record for a couple days, do a scene here in this movie for us. Great.
You're a white man at our disposal.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Oh Jesus Christ, Devin.
I mean, it's true. Like, look at what they did
I
with
know,
Joel
you're
Kinnaman,
right.
though. Joel Kinnaman, who was
Yeah.
like Rick Flag in Suicide Squad, he also played a pivotal character in one of the House of Cards seasons, and he was the introductory character for Altered Carbon.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
They just keep on recycling people, and it's not a bad thing to use them, in different projects and stuff. It really is looking like, okay, so this is just the 40 to 50 people total, the 4 to 5 big names that you have in your Rolodex, and Hopper seems to fit that bill.
And like, what are the odds that this old white man has a house in Dhaka, Bangladesh,
Yeah.
with a wife who is Bangladeshi? I don't know.
Bengali. Circle back around to being racist.
He's old now. He was retired from fighting the child street gangs. He had to keep.
Yeah, he's like, yes, my wife. Maybe you've seen her. She's about, yay tall. She's 12.
God.
Yeah, now tell me, what does the American expat do with his foreign-born
God.
wife as he's legally required to live overseas?
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's the question.
We don't
Her older
know.
brother got beat up by Chris Hemsworth outside, so...
Oh God, this show's already canceled.
So as they're recouping, Hopper says, hey, you can hang here for a couple days and just recoup. Apparently comes back the next day, gets too drunk, and he's like, hey, you should just kill the boy. I mean, it's $10 million. Like, he's gonna be beat down anyway and killed anyway. What are you gonna do? Protect him the rest of his life?
Well, and then we're supposed to believe, because of course Rake says, like, I'm not gonna do that, and then Hopper's like, you have to, and then like, I'll do it, and then Rake says no, and then they fight, and then we have like Hopper versus Thor, and we're supposed to think like this is a contest here, because like Hopper is a tall dude, don't
Right.
get me wrong. Chris Hemsworth though still probably has like a head on him, standing straight. And then Chris Hemsworth, again, is just built like a brick shithouse in this movie. And Hopper just kind of looks like everyone's dad about to go to the grill.
Yeah. Gonna make some
The
brats.
cargo shorts can only take you so far. Yeah.
Weakened military man versus drunk dad. Who will win?
What if that sounds like the same guy?
It's basically like a Southern family reunion, just all over again.
I know, right? Though the flashbacks of my own family.
I also think that this scene really kind of helps highlight a wasted opportunity throughout the film of letting the script develop. And I know that we had talked earlier about how, it's an older script and it's a fairly timeless story, but for better or worse, every movie has become Marvelized. Like, we have become so used to quippy lines and quippy thoughts and smart dialogue. Like, for better or worse. I'm not necessarily saying that it needs to be to that level, but there is not a single character helping to break the tension. And so it just makes everything feel very droll almost the entire way through. It makes all of these one-note, one-dimensional characters just kind of feel like NPCs on Chris Hemsworth and Avi's escort mission to get to the helicopter.
I mean, they almost try to like make Ovi the comic relief, but it just doesn't land because he's just like pointing out obvious things like, oh, well, it smells.
I'm not going to say like, make him have like weird photos on his phone that Chris Hemsworth finds, or like that
Weird
Avi
photos,
finally
Kelton?
is trying
Come
to talk
on,
to
man.
that girl. Well, no, like he has like porn or something on his phone and he doesn't want Chris Hemsworth finding it. But because he's doing that, like there's a tracker or something. Like there are a whole lot of other tropes that the movie could pull from. And I just think that adding a certain layer of character would be helpful.
You think that the hijackers who stole Ovi would keep his phone with porn on him?
Very good point. I thoroughly admit that this film would need a rewrite, probably from that point.
You
if
add
not
an
earlier.
hour to the movie, and then you turn it into like this weird version of The Professional.
With a full-blown foreign cut exclusive, just heavily implied sexual relationship between Tyler Rake and Avi.
That's where I was kind of going with that. Yeah.
It's just going to be a whole lot of Hopper and his child bride, unfortunately.
You can fill my hole.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
Oh, I almost gagged.
Ew-wee.
Yay, goal.
Okay, so we're now barrel rolling into the third act. So where are we at?
So Rake calls Saju somehow. I don't know how the fuck he got his number, but
He had a Captain America phone.
Yeah, you're getting after me for phone plot hole type shit. Okay.
He had a Russo. The Russo brothers put the Captain America phone in all their movies. Like everyone's got a Captain America where they can call their rival.
Or it's like how in Avengers movies, how they all have headsets, but they clearly don't have headsets on. Like, what? How is this happening?
Anyway, somehow mysteriously calls the enemy that he's been fighting. They suggest a team up, and they're like, we'll work together and get Ovi past the extraction point, which is located across the bridge.
He's trying to make a diversion and draw the cops away, but the cops then suddenly pull out, a tank and giant fucking automatic rifles, and they just try and blow him straight to hell, and that doesn't quite work out for him.
It's not a tank. It's an armored car with tiny windows that he threw grenades into. So,
which, by the way, I don't want to completely nerd out. That same vehicle is used in Civil War. That's the vehicle that Black Widow gets locked up in.
Okay, yeah.
Where then she has to beat all those guys on the inside. It's that exact same carrier. So
rip off.
Well, I mean, again, just probably they knew the provider for that film, so sure, why not? We're gonna have a different filter on this one, so no one will
look
know.
Different. It'll be a brown car instead of green.
So Rake joins Saju and Avi, right? And they're trying to make it across the bridge so that then they can meet up with Chris Hemsworth's team. So that then they can get rescued. All of them are taking pretty heavy fire along. This felt so much like a video game move right here in this part. Because it's point A to point B. You have to get across. You're being attacked from both behind you as well as from one side by a sniper. So you have to try and keep yourself covered up while advancing forward.
As well as a helicopter from the other side, as well as...
I've played this level in a couple of different Grand Theft Autos, for sure.
They all have 5 stars on them, amazingly, somehow. Oh, they're going to pull it off. It's going to be great.
Except you never pull it off. You never do. as we find out.
Well, yeah, because apparently the fucking colonel, for some reason, like, in addition to being a colonel in the army and old as shit, he's also still like an Olympic level
Right.
sniper. And so Saju just has like this big emotional like hero moment, like, I'm going to redeem myself, and then just bah, right in the head. Just the movie could have used more squibs,
Yeah.
I guess. Because that was beautifully done. That looked great. Then Rake is, of course, getting shot to shit as he's running across. He tells Avi, like, "Oh, you have to go.
You've been here
Go.
for an hour.
I
You go
believe
home."
in you." Yeah.
Well, he gets shot in the shoulder by the sniper before he ducks behind a car. Then Ovi is like, "No, you
But I
can't
love
die.
you."
Come on, we can make it, right?" And starts crying like they have some
know.
relationship. I
It has
don't
been-
fucking know.
It has been less than
Yeah,
24
yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
how long
wild
these people
ride,
have
though,
known
man.
each-
Can you be
Oh,
my new
Jesus.
dad?
Well, maybe your kid has daddy issues, and he saw Hemsworth beat the shit out of other kids, and
I mean, we totally skipped over the fact that this kid is now
Yeah,
a killer.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he has blood on his hands, and he did it effortlessly
Well, it's-
too. Like, that's gonna fuck him up later. It's
You
gonna be
killed
like,
Hopper.
like, why don't I feel guilty for doing this? Like, I should feel guilty,
Mhm.
right? Or maybe sometimes killing people is the right thing to do.
Necessary.
Yeah, maybe violence is going to be the
in
answer.
Minecraft.
Apparently. Well, in India / Bangladesh / whatever country he's actually supposed to be in, because I really don't remember. But the larger point is that as Avi makes it to safety, Hemsworth is behind him by a little bit, but then just gets shot in the neck, and then he gurgles
God, yeah.
a little bit, and then he just falls off a bridge.
Well, having flashbacks to, painful childhood, but now remembered with, a sense of whatever, nostalgia.
The white guy on the white beaches with his white
Mhm.
kid in a white background.
It's like an old
God damn
episode
it.
of The Waltons or something.
He gets shot by the kid who wanted to kill him the most out of everybody.
Oh yeah, there's this entire subplot. We're not going to be getting into that because honestly, it does not matter. But yeah, let's run through it here because Hemsworth is shot several times, or shot at several times. He's hit by a truck. He's then shot a couple more times. His arm is ripped to shit because he gets knifed down like his bicep, tricep. Then
Yeah.
he gets shot a couple
His
more
shoulder.
times by the cop while he is trying to make a scene. Then he gets an RPG sent into the building, and he somehow survives all of that shrapnel. He then is on a bridge where he then gets shot in the shoulder.
Snipered.
And then he gets shot a couple more times by the
Hey, you didn't know how many health packs he had in that vest?
and then he finally gets shot in the neck. Then he falls off a bridge like 120 feet down into the
Jesus.
river.
Because if you're gonna go down, you gotta go dramatically
Well,
and just
that's-
fling yourself off a bridge.
That's a Russo's trope because they did that in Winter Soldier too, right? Didn't Captain America fall into a river?
That's
Yeah.
right. That's exactly what
Yep,
happened with
yep.
Bucky. That's
Did they
right.
fuck?
Chris Hemsworth is going to be back with a metal
Oh,
arm in
God.
the next movie. His arm did get damaged,
Metal
so
neck.
why not?
Oh.
But anyway, so the movie we think is over, but then we check and it's like, whoa, there's like 20 something minutes left here. What's going to happen next? And then we flash forward 8 months.
Where we see Oji jumping off a diving board into a pool and meditating like his former master.
Mentor.
Mentor.
Mentor. That works, sure.
His former plug.
We also see Nick exacting revenge and shooting the Bengali drug dealer in the head and then dragging her gorgeous dress through his stupid blood. Oh, I was so mad about it. Anyway, then Ovi comes up out of the water because he senses something. Looks over and there's a white silhouette in a hat.
Well, no, it's a blurry background, and he sees a white guy. It's not a white
Yeah.
silhouette.
Well,
It's not
it's a
like
a
silhouette
white
of a
man
white man
silhouette.
in a straw hat.
whatever.
to be
It's
fair, he is
Chewing on
wearing
some
like
grass.
the standard Avengers level incognito.
He's got a name
outfit
tag.
of
says
baseball cap
Cletus.
and glasses.
and flannel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Oh, don't look at me. I'm just another one of you Indian
Right.
folks.
Oh, God.
I got my bandana.
Jeez. Oh my god. Yeah, that was you had said something about how the movie had multiple endings and they kind of tested them and went with the one that had the best reception.
Yeah, and this was the one that had the best reception because this movie clearly had no principle. It was made for a market-tested audience, and this is just further evidence
Are
of
you
that.
are you
Because
do you know what the other endings were?
what one was just him opening his eyes at the bottom of the pool. He doesn't come up, but like it's like, oh look,
History
he's
repeats.
carrying on the legacy or whatever. The next one was just him coming up, and then he sees Rake, and then like cuts to his face, cuts to Avi's face. You're like, they're together. And then there's the ambiguous nature. So it isn't like they had like 3 separate scenes or
Okay,
something, as
yeah.
much as just they edited that to then see how people like, and then decided to actually roll with it.
And what do you feel was the best take?
I mean, I think that this is the best one. Leave it ambiguous because I mean, it's the thing that's going to appeal to the most people because people will see what they want to see, and I think that that's exactly what the film should have done. They shouldn't have had to market, just have it happen. Although I would say when shooting, make it a little bit more ambiguous, like give the guy like Chris Hemsworth's outfit, but make it like an Indian actor who's actually there, so that way then like there's some like, wait, who is that? I get kind of a, whatever vibe.
It's Saju back from
Yeah.
the dead.
Well, I mean, honestly, that would probably be a better
Yeah.
better fit, but that would work. He has an eye patch and a beard. It's just like, I have an important message.
The eye patch is just the middle of his forehead.
Oh no.
It's the Indian reboot of Charlie's Angels. It's Hindu Angels. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh
God.
no. But so needless to say, this film we've shit on it a lot, but we're also kind of Americans, and a large overarching factor that needs to be considered is the fact that this film was really loved by Indian critics. India Today, the Indian Express, the Times of India, and the Hindustan Times were all very favorable towards this movie, and I think in part it's because it had like a $65 million budget like we had talked about, and the average for like their blockbusters over there is anywhere between 2 and 8 million. So this is just a lot more effects and a lot more movie really than can be compared to. And I think people, at least in India, went, well, yeah, it's not the most complex plot, but I mean, my God, the stunts. We just don't get many movies like that.
Yeah, and I was thinking too. Part of that budget is like how much of that was the exorbitant salaries of American actors versus like maybe they get paid very little in India as well, comparatively speaking, which is why Indian cinema might be so much cheaper. But I think that at the end of the day, that was what kept me from completely, panning it in total. Was trying to look at it from what it was trying to achieve and playing in these dual roles, the dual cultures. So in that respect, it's kind of nice to see people trying to make that amalgamation work. I just don't think it worked.
Well, yeah, I mean, it didn't necessarily work
Right.
for us, but it obviously worked for other people. And I think that that's good because, I mean, critics overall gave the film only like a 5.8, and fans overall gave the film like a 6.3. So,
Wow, they almost
I mean,
agreed.
yeah, I mean, it's when you're within half a point of each other, I think the consensus is more or less everyone's kind of on the same page about what this movie is.
Did you get the critic numbers from Americans or from the Indians critics?
I was just going with in general critics
Okay.
from all over. I mean, the majority of Indian critics liked this
Well,
movie.
I would like to see, just for the sake of argument, like what Indian moviegoers thought versus their critics. Like, were they like, maybe the critics were like, this is great because they
Yeah.
wanted it to be great because they wanted that budget spent in India again. You know what I mean? Like the industry did. So they're going to say like this. Yeah,
It's a psyop.
Exactly. So maybe we're like, we're being indoctrinated here. So That might be interesting to see, like what people, the actual folks who went and saw it.
Yeah, I think the only way that this movie could really get like a 10 out of 10 for me is more rakes, more kids. Let's do this. The highlights. You gotta keep playing those classics. More.
I mean, that was the one thing the movie did that, I was there for and I would be there for again, because you don't necessarily see it too often. Like, you ever have like that annoying ass younger cousin when you were like 17 and they were like 9 and you just kind of wanted to drop kick them?
Yeah. I was an annoying ass cousin.
Oh yeah, we all were. But when it was your turn and you were the, somewhat, young adult, and it was the 9-year-old coming in your room fucking with your stuff, like,
times to drop that motherfucker.
You just, do a running clothesline and just see what happens. Like, we've all had that fantasy.
I just want to see him like accidentally kill a kid and then be like, oh, well, I mean, kind of had it coming. He was coming for me. So.
Well, that could be the next movie, is like this other special ops person who we don't know is going to see Chris Hemsworth killing the younglings. And, now he's got to go and stop him.
I think that'll work, I think that's just what has to be done as a movie.
I don't think the movie is going to spawn a sequel. I don't think it was intended to.
No, definitely not. I mean, I think that they would love it, in the same way that like Joker wasn't intended to have a sequel, but because it made $1 billion, they're going to make a sequel.
Lives.
This movie wasn't made with a sequel in mind, but I'm sure they can find a way to make it happen.
Hemsworth said he would come back if it did well. I mean,
well, let's hope it doesn't do well.
Watch it just be a prequel. Oh, here I am. I have an amazing wife and child. I hope nothing bad happens to him.
Oh god, it just becomes like a Jack Ryan kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just modernized.
There have been many Tyler Rakes.
There we are. I mean, James Bond, I guess they still make Bond movies, but they don't really do the Jack Ryan shit is like direct to Amazon Video stuff now. Like, they don't do movies. So I guess we're kind of and Tom Cruise doing the Mission Impossible stuff, like he's fucking 70 years old now. Like,
yeah, no one's gonna top him with stunt. Although I would like to see this director get his fingers on a Mission Impossible film, just because I think that could be a very interesting approach. But they got some good stuff going on.
Yeah,
for them.
Yeah, for sure. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, I think that's gonna pretty much be an episode. We've talked about this movie about as long as I think anyone really could. Talked about the world around this movie as well. So we did our due diligence on it with this GIGO show. But what have you got to plug, Scott? What's going on in your world?
Not much. Just living that quarantine life, seeing how long I can go without shaving before I feel dirty and ashamed.
The trick is to shave, then rub yourself full of hand sanitizer, then light yourself on fire. Just really sear those pores.
It's getting to the point where I think something drastic's gonna happen. I was looking in the mirror the other day and my hair's not long enough to rock some bangs, but I'm sure I could fuck it up. I'm definitely considering it.
Just write a Medium article. That seems to be like the two options available to us.
I know so many people have done that too. Fuck.
Is that or keep on podcasting? But I'm not gonna throw too many stones from my ornate glass house.
Craig, our buddy Craig wrote a Medium article on the rules of wearing a jersey to a baseball game. What sort of jersey at what sort of game? What is allowed?
Oh my. Oh, Craig. Oh, Craig.
Anyway.
Craig, buddy. Come back to us. But well, very cool. What are you plugging though, man? Like what's going on?
Well, I got a little bit of a meme page on Facebook that I do, and then I got a Dusty Twitter account that I occasionally remember to cross post memes to, but that's pretty much all I do. That or scream at boomers. You can find my Twitter's at least is at PHARKINBASTAGE. Farkin Bastage.
There we go. And then, as always, everyone, please go ahead and follow us on Twitter at GIGO Podcast. And then you can follow me on Twitter. I actually got a new handle. It's a private Twitter account, but if I know you at least tangentially, sure, I will accept the follow and then follow back, because I am trying desperately to just have a Twitter account I can use for social media instead of being driven insane by the Twitter algorithm and the feelings of constantly having to platform my thoughts. Because that's what podcasting is for, not Twitter.
Yeah, and you'll be doing that again in about 6 months.
Exactly. I'll be like, oh man, that Twitter account, it blew up too much. Oh,
Yeah.
too many people. I have to trim down even further. The few, the proud.
The 10.
Yeah, only 6 people. I'm only gonna follow 6 people. I'm only gonna let 6 people follow me.
Oh.
It's gonna be my perfect social media, one way or another. But the handle for that is @CultureTruther. Because I am growing. I'm maturing. This is a sign that I am no longer the irresponsible man I was, checks notes, 9 months ago when I made the sex confetti handle. So very excited to see what shitpost that leads me to. Devon, what's going on in our world? What am I forgetting?
We have the GIGO Discord. Monday movie nights in the PDG podcast Discord right now until we blow up a little bit and actually have some peeps to come in and watch the shows with us.
Yeah, no, that sounds very calm and natural, and I think that's gonna do it. So we love you guys, and we will talk to you later.